Hey guys, welcome to the Warrior's Path podcast. I am Alan Baker, and today we're going to be following up on a series that we've been doing on the last few podcasts that's titled Life's Rules of Engagement. And today we're going to be taking a look at number 7, which is How You Exist Speaks to the World. I've heard this said a couple different ways, and it makes me think of a quote um, that is a very powerful one. And I've actually heard this quote from several of my teachers and mentors, and it goes like this: How you do anything is how you do everything. In other words, even how you deal with the little details of life when nobody's looking has an effect on how you do even the more important stuff later on. It also is going to affect how you develop, in my opinion, willpower and discipline. Because if you think about it, even in those moments, you should do something, and maybe you should do it to a certain level, and you don't because maybe no one's looking, or I'll get it later. I'll come back and finish it up. And it's those moments where you have to rein yourself in and make yourself not only do it, but do it at a high level. Do it with quality, especially when no one's looking. I mean, this those moments are when you're going to build your reputation with yourself. Maybe no one else knows about it, but you know. The voice in your head is going to know because that guy is always there. And he's also the one that will talk the most shit to you when you go on to do things that are greater. Maybe you learn the lesson by making your bed or washing the dishes, but you apply it on those areas of life where you're going to strive for something greater. It's in those moments where, that little voice in your head, he knows your reputation with yourself. That's when he starts to call you out. But he knows because of those moments that we chose not necessarily to do our best. And it becomes habit. That's another reason we want to try to put in that extra effort in those moments, is because that's where we create those habits. And those are the habits that we carry on later when we strive to do greater things. I've recently had an interaction or more interaction with a 12-year-old. And one of the things that we've tried to learn together is making your bed. And he doesn't, well, at first he really didn't understand why I put that much effort in it. I mean, I'm going to come back later today and mess it up anyway. Why not just leave it messy? And this is one of the times when I had an opportunity to have this discussion with him. It was a pretty funny story because I said at first, hey, go make the bed. I'll come back. And when I come back, there's lumps underneath the cover. The pillows are crooked. Nothing's tucked in underneath the bottom of the bed. And, I could have jumped out there and done it. But the approach I took to it is, hey, take a look at what you're doing. Observe your surroundings. What do you see? I mean, does that look acceptable to you? I really didn't even have to tell him. He took a look at it and he was like, okay. And he goes and fixes a few things, but not everything. Comes back and we start looking at the bed again and observing what we're doing. And, I had to point out a few more things, but this process probably took us over an hour before we got this bed to a certain point. And even at that, when we were finished, didn't quite understand why that much effort. And so we had to have this talk, because This is where you develop your ability to apply effort and you sharpen the discipline to drive that effort, the willpower to make it happen. It's where you practice. And it's a small thing, yes. But where else do you practice? I don't see it happening that often in society with younger people today. And there's lots of different places you can go to, or you can choose maybe to practice this type of thing. But the point is that we do practice. And, for me, an example that I use quite often is washing the dishes because sometimes it's a little easier. It's late at night after dinner just to leave them in the sink until the next day. But no, it's like that little voice in my head. Yeah, go ahead and do that. But to me, that's a signal. Get in there and do it. And not only do it, but do it past what a normal expectation of doing it is. Leave that thing in a better condition than when you arrived. And then I think also when I was interacting with the young man and for myself, one of the things I notice is, more often than not, effort makes you successful in the greater things that you attempt to do in life. It's not necessarily talent. Maybe you have talent. Maybe your talent is effort, but I don't think talent is given away readily in the world. It seems to be on short supply. But effort, we are in control of. I am in control of effort. I'm not necessarily in control of my talent. I'd like to be. I'd like to take the volume knob on that talent and turn it up quite a bit. But so far, I haven't found that knob. But I have found the volume knob for effort. I jokingly tell my students all the time, the only gift God gave me was the ability to do the same thing over and over again without getting bored. I could literally go to the academy, throw a jab cross for 2 hours, and be excited about it the whole time. I didn't get bored with it, which allowed me to dispense a lot of effort in that area. And as everybody knows, effort will grow your skills, your attributes, and those types of things in life, whatever you're doing. And the cool thing is, we're in charge of that. I'm not in charge of talent, but I am in charge of effort. And this is part of the discussion I had with the young man, is even though it doesn't seem necessary to dispense that much effort in that moment, it's practice for later in life when the big things come along. It's hard. It would be hard to figure it out at that moment. Maybe life throws an opportunity at you. And if you've already developed those skills of effort and discipline and willpower, you don't have to try to forge them on that opportunity. They're already there. It's already part of your daily habit. It becomes part of who you are and how you exist. So you don't have to develop it. You just got to run with it. I think one of the first things to developing this perspective or mindset is just self-awareness. Understanding yourself more, getting more in touch with who you are. Now, I think that's a more and more difficult thing to do these days because of just how society has developed. Cell phones, computers, electronics everywhere. You could go anywhere. And I think of the airport. I go to the airport quite often because I travel a lot, almost every weekend at least. And the amount of people just walking down through there on their cell phones, completely unaware of what's going on around them. And it puts them in a haze. And you need to I like to say, get your head out of your app. Get it out of the phone. Be able to look up every now and then. And speaking of the airport, one of the things I've noticed is people will just walk right into you. And it is a busy crowd, of course, but there's been times when there's not that many people, and there's plenty of room to navigate around the bodies that are in front of you. You're on your way to your plane, but you are buried in that cell phone so deep to the point where they'll bump into you. and look up in surprise and apologize and then put their head back into their app and keep moving forward and do it again, I assume. But that's a problem. I think a lot of times human beings seek that path of numbness to be able to turn off. And I see a lot of people that maybe they'll seek it through drugs, through alcohol, the ability to turn off the mind, turn off the body for a little bit. I think they get the same thing. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people get the same thing from those electronics. And it's an addiction. It really is. And you want to develop the ability, and I'm a big proponent of a warrior's mindset. Developing it myself, helping people develop it. But you want to, as part of that, have that self-awareness. And even self-awareness is a learned skill. It's not something you can just learn in a class and then, okay, I understand it, therefore I have it. You still have to train your eyes to be up. You still have to train the ability to observe, just like we're talking about with the daily habits. So not spending as much time in that state of mind, having the ability to observe your surroundings. It makes me think of the principle of the OODA loop. If you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. It's something that was created by Colonel James Boyd. He's an Air Force colonel, fighter pilot, and he created this system to help pilots make decisions quicker. I was first introduced to it at the Executive Protection Institute. It's part of the curriculum they teach at that academy. But it is a fantastic mind tool. It's a fantastic thought tool, and something that you can implement mentally to make you better in relation to observation. The very first part of the OODA loop is observe. Have the ability to get your eyes up and see. Make it a habit. This affects so many things. Right now we're mainly looking at kind of a general set of life rules in relation to just how you exist. But observation is a huge part of it. And why observation is because we want to be able to observe ourselves, become self-aware. Recognize that we are in that daze, that state of just being one of the walking dead, and be able to pull yourself out of that. I know individuals that spend over half their day in that state. And as warriors, we've got to pull ourselves out of that state and be more aware. That's our job. But even take this in consideration. Part of interacting with your surroundings and the world at a higher level is first observing your effect on it. It's just like the story we were talking about earlier with taking a look at the bed when we were making the bed. We made an attempt and we stepped back and we just observe what happened. And through observation, it became pretty obvious that things needed to change. So I think self-awareness is one of the first things to making this a powerful principle in life. The ability to disconnect from all of that and be in the here and now. Be able to turn on your radar, your ability to recognize what's going on around you on a daily basis. Because that can lead to those actions that we take. And this principle is in relation to the quality of the actions that we're taking. Makes me think of a quote from Sifu Francis Fong. He commonly will say, he wants to see less talk and more do. It's a powerful one. I quote that quite often, but it's the action principle. Because action is one of the pillars of change, right? You want to be able to take designed, deliberate, and consistent actions. Why designed? I want to be able to sit and take a moment to think about what I'm getting ready to do. Deliberate, specifically laid out my plan. I've made this plan, I'm going to do this thing. And consistent actions, because One explosion of effort can achieve a few things, but consistent effort over time is what will achieve greatness. And that's done to go back, to loop back on a daily basis on those little things we choose to do on a daily basis. That's how we train it into our system. That's how we become that thing. That will start to develop the mindset and attitude that's needed in other areas of life. I think, too, this will lead, it's inevitable, to another thing that I commonly will talk about, which is self-education and improvement. One of the rules I follow, and I have a couple of pillars that I build my code on, the way that I follow. And one of them is the gentleman's code. And one of the things on that code is to leave your surroundings better than when you arrived. At least do your best to. And I know you don't always get to, but the effort to do that. We're discussing earlier washing the sink after doing the dishes. One, just do the dishes. Okay, the dishes are done. But then clean the entire area. Leave it in better condition than when you arrived. Clean up the kitchen afterwards. Go above and beyond and develop the habit of going above and beyond. The habit of dispensing that much effort, that much action. Okay, so just to review, one of the things we did today is we took a look at that rule number 7, which is, I commonly will title it, How You Exist Speaks to the World. And then all the things that can be involved with that. And it pretty much boils down to this. It is those little things that you do on a daily basis that will train you. It'll train your discipline. It'll train your willpower, the amount of effort you can create. And it might surprise you how much effort you can put forward. Sometimes I think I'm putting forth a certain amount of effort, and when I step back and look at it, I'm like, I could do better. And this may be an inanimate thing that I'm doing. No one's going to notice. It's just between me and that event. But that's where I practice. And I got to say, in my life, I've used this a considerable amount of times. The discipline, willpower, the drive, the passion that I learned in the academy were really when no one was looking. Later, helped me build multiple businesses, multiple revenue streams. And they still do to this day. It has conditioned me to the point where what I consider minimal effort, I have gotten comments from other people that they consider it great effort. But that was built in those small moments. Okay, guys, that's all I've got today. Hopefully you've got some value out of this cast. I will see you at the next one. All right, guys, just a quick break to say I appreciate you watching the show or listening to the show, depending on how you consume this information. If you find value in it, please give us a follow or a like. And also, if you think someone else might have value in it, please share it with them. We would appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, helps us reach more people, and do more good. Just a quick second to talk about some of the things that we're doing on the website. We currently have different things available to help you guys out if you're interested. One is 3 different video archives. Some are jiu-jitsu related, some are related to the Warrior's Path program, and one is one we just released this year, which is the Civilian Tactical Program. That program focuses a lot on self-defense. We had a lot of requests for it this year, and we finally got it released, and it's available now. We are also scheduling a lot of hosted events next year. I commonly will teach events for other people. Other people will host the events. They'll fly me in and I'll teach. And a lot of them aren't necessarily open to the public. They're built for different agencies or different teams. So this year, one of the things we're trying to do is do more hosted events for the public, and we're going to do them here in Georgia at the Academy. And we've already got several of them up on the website. You can go and look at upcoming events and see what's available. And there's several other things on there too. But drop by the website and take a look.